Hey everybody, it's Graham Coath with another MyMusic. It's my favourite time on a Friday. For me, it's nearly the end of Friday. And it's when I get to talk to a musician about their music, which is always an absolute pleasure. Today, I'm going to be speaking to Jata. But first, let's just have this. I need to get going, Mel. See you later. And today we're very pleased to say that this is the first time that I've used the new Twitter streaming service as well. So this is going live on LinkedIn, YouTube and Twitter, but not on the old Periscope streaming service, but the new Twitter streaming service. So hopefully it's all working wonderfully. So Jata, you said that you came to your studio in a hurry in your car. How far away is your studio from where you work?
Well, hi everybody. First of all, thank you for letting me be here. Well, it takes half an hour, something like that, from my office to my studio. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's just driving so fast to come here and doing the interview.
Well, there you go. We have an audience, so hello. Thanks, Odessa, for tuning in. It's a very professional looking studio. I see you've got, some soundproofing there and etc. on the wall. How long in a week do you tend to spend in your music studio?
Well, I'd say quite every evening. When I get out from my office, I just come here and when I'm in the period that I'm composing something like the new album, for example, I spend here almost every evening, sometimes also night, alone or sometimes with my musicians. And when I do not have to compose something, just come here during the weekend just to have fun playing and stay with my music.
Oh, right. Do you ever have parties in there then? I mean, do you invite people over for a little listening party of,
Well, sometimes only musician.
Oh, right. Okay, fine. So for you, when did music first really enter your life?
Well, that's a good question actually. I mean, it was very early. I mean, I remember when I was so young, at 10 years old, something like that. I was seeing my brother playing the bass guitar, and I look at him and say, "Hey, I want to do that. I want to sing. I want to do something in music." So since that age, I started to take the guitar and make some chords and sing, and that was a growing learning on music, having the first bands, playing the guitars in the bands, then composing something by myself, and finally when I broke away from my degrees, I mean, it became something like a job, and I started playing around Italy with different bands, playing the bass guitar, and finally I started with Jata project, which is my own project, and this is the fourth album.
Right. Fourth album already. What does a young Italian boy listen to music wise, or what were you listening to when you were younger?
Uh, I try to expand my let's say my vision on music. I started listening rock music, I, heavy metal music when I was very young. Then I realized what there was behind it. And so rock music, hard rock music, 70s, 60s, etc., etc. When I started to play really in the band, the instruments such like a guitar or bass guitar, started to be interested also in blues, in jazz, in reggae, in funk, etc., etc. Then
Yeah,
growing, yeah, exactly, and then growing, I was really influenced from indie music, indie rock. And here in in Italy, actually, we have I'd say, very good school of indie rock music. That means not a mainstream rock music, but really indie. Probably coming from Britain. Uh, but yeah, that was my influence, and finally also the electronic music, like Depeche Mode, Daft Punk, etc.
yeah, because there's an element of your music which is obviously electronic. Odessa says, "Where's the opera on your list?" I mean, you're Italian, right? So, was opera
Yeah,
ever in there?
sorry.
Was opera never on your list in terms of music listening? Opera.
Um, opera, yeah. Mm, I do like a lot the classic music, but it's I would say it never influenced my music. Opera.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you were listening to what you're telling me is you listened to a variety of music growing up. Was there any particular friends or any members of your family that were ever a main influence on you?
Well, in my family, definitely was my brother, who who's a musician as well, as I said before. But around me, I got in my life a lot of friends, musicians that influenced me. Um, I say during the university, for example, I started play reggae music just because one of my friend had a very popular band of reggae here in Sicily, and
Wow.
yeah, I was very attracted from for the reggae music, the reggae culture. Then I started to play reggae with my bass guitar. So I'd say, yeah, every particular moment of my life, any person who was close to me in terms of music influenced my listening and my music.
Yeah. Anyone in particular influence your singing?
My singing.
Because singing's different from playing an instrument. I mean, with instruments, as you know, you you pick up different habits and different things from listening to records, etc. And but you're in the same. You're limited by your own physicality in terms of playing, and then that takes you in a certain route. But vocals, I mean, that's with you from a very young age. We all sing from a very young age. Some of us can't sing, some of us can sing, in terms of what's in tune, etc. But did any were there anybody as you were growing up that vocally you thought you tried to mimic or you really liked their vocal style?
Well, I would say I've never had this type of influencing coming from people around me, but mostly was finding my own style in singing, finding my own vocal register, it was just a work that that growing as a singer, every time was improving and improving. I'd say the only influence I had in singing style was coming from my favorite artists, like as I said, Depeche Mode, or I don't know, I could say Interpol, but there are a lot of band and singer that I try to not to copy, not to imitate, but just understand their best practice, let's say, and
Yeah,
try to
yeah,
get.
breathing, maybe, you know, and things like expression, etc., as well through things. Because learning, I think, one of the most difficult things to learn in singing is not just the breathing, etc., and the you know how to hold a note, etc., but it's also learning how to control the emotional side of your singing as well, and getting
Yeah,
the emotion out. Yeah. So that's something you got from listening to people like
yeah,
Depeche Mode.
indeed, yeah. I say that if you talk about a really emotional part of singing, that's it. You can learn from a teacher about how to use your breathing, how to use your the breath coming from the stomach, etc. How to use um, the movement of your mouth in order to make the sound. But yeah, the expression, the emotional that has to come out. It's not about techniques. It's about well, just sometimes when I watch the video clip of cover made from Chris Cornell on YouTube. I say, hey, this is really something emotional. And I'm not talking about his um, great techniques, but I'm talking about his, expression, his um, warmth, everything about his type of singing. Yeah.
Yeah. So why Jata? What does the name Jata mean?
The name of the cover I was talking before.
No, that Jata. Your project's called
Oh,
Jata. Yeah. Where does that come from?
well, that's yeah. It's something that always that people ask to me, and in real, there's no some really interesting story around that, but it comes from the period when I was playing the reggae music in a band with that friend that I was talking before. So each of other had a nickname, okay? Because my name is Gaetano, which is a typical Sicilian name, okay?
Yeah.
And people very often call me Tano. So
Right.
the short part of my name, so Tano, because Gaetano, people call me Tano, okay? Only the second part of the name. It's very typical in Sicily. So I needed a nickname for a reggae band. So very often in reggae culture, you use to put before the word Jah. So
Yeah.
I said, hey, you can call me Jatano. But
Ah.
yeah, but it was very awful as a sound. So when I started to have my own project, I said, yeah, let's remove no. Let's Jata. It's very yeah, good, and also you can create a very good logo because the four characters symmetric. So That's
Yeah,
the
and the two A's in there give it that real symmetry to it. Yeah, no, get it. Yeah, it's an interesting story. Interesting story behind that. How do you feel that you've progressed over the 4 albums that you've done?
You mean along the 4 albums? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was any time I compose an album, that was something more, I would say. For example, I started from really indie Italian rock, um, very underground style, something not very commercial, and that was my beginning around 15 years ago. Then the second one was a little bit more, catchable in terms of melody and also lyrics. Finally, the third album that came in 2018 was really pop, Italian pop songs. And that's why people started to listen about my music. Let's say a wider audience before compared to before. Finally, last year I composed Crazy Game of Phobias, which completely broke from the past because, first of all, it's completely in English.
Yep.
Second, it's electronic music and not pop music or indie rock music, by the way. Electronic music. I wanted to do an album with a sound that I never touched before.
Mm.
So it was a challenge for me. Of course, my production helped me a lot with the arrangements and to put finally concrete what I had in my mind, and this is the result. I mean, Crazy Game of Phobias, and it's
Yeah.
completely from the past.
Well, I really love the sound of it. I really do, because it has some of those pop. You can tell that where you've gone through that journey. So it has some of those pop elements to it, but it has a more indie feel to it as well. Yeah, this isn't pure pop. I mean, this is whatever you want to call it, intelligent pop, or it's in, yeah. So were you influenced by anyone in particular at the time when you were listening to it, or was there any bands that you were particularly listening to, current bands that you were feeling, I like this kind of vibe, not that you'd copy them, but I like this kind of vibe that they're producing?
Mm-hmm. Well, when you listen to Crazy Game of Phobias, I mean the single, the first song of the album, definitely you will go to 80s sound, electronic sounds, and your mind goes, I think, directly to Depeche Mode. It's automatic, not because I was hoping, but again, it's part of my influence in music, and yeah, I think the way of thinking and also the electronics reminds you the page mode. But it's not only this. The rest of the album is still electronic, still indie, still has something of pop culture, but every song has a particular uh, sound, even if everything is electronic. But you can, for example, recognize a pop ballad with an electronic sound, or you can recognize a very dance song in the album, it's I think there is more than just one band to refer to.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I hear elements of people like, in more recent times, people like Metronomy and people like that in your music as well. That kind of or M83. There's those people that have captured that, as I say, essence of some of the sounds of the 80s, but they brought it into a real modern sound. And there's an intelligence and almost space in the music that's not necessarily pure pop, because pop is, has to kind of contain itself within a short space. But your music's a little bit more spatial than that going on in this album. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that today, if you say pop or if you say indie, sometimes, yeah, I think does make sense. I mean, what doesn't mean indie today? What doesn't mean pop today?
Yeah.
That, yeah, I think there is something more. It's not classified just by one word.
Yeah. So when's the single out? The single's out, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
the single's out. Yeah. And what about the album? Is the album out this year?
Definitely it is. I think next week, 5th of October. So it
Right.
should be in 2 weeks, I guess.
Imminent. Just in time for or just after my birthday. But never mind.
Oh.
It can be a late birthday present. That's fine. So what's the future hold for you as well musically? I mean, do you move on again? Because as you say, there's been a progression in terms of your music. Do you? And it sounds like in a way each album has been a slight reaction to the last album. Do you feel the next album might be a reaction to this one again?
That's a really good question. I'm honestly, I'm not. I can't see now uh, what I will compose, what I will write for the next album. I can't see if there will be a next album at the moment, but it was always like that, before composing the next album. I mean, when I was composing and when I was when the Legge del Tempo, that was the previous album, was out, I didn't think to write another album, and I didn't know when. But in the 2020, Crazy Game of Phobia came out, so I don't know.
Who knows? Who
Yeah,
knows? I mean, one of the things that I often ask people is if you had the opportunity to collaborate with someone of the present or of the past, who would that be?
well, I really at the moment it would be fantastic for me to have the opportunity, for example, to collaborate with Daft Punk.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though they've disbanded.
Yeah.
But yeah. What is it about Daft Punk that you'd really love to work with them about? I mean, the production side of things.
Yeah, definitely the production. To have them, to help me to product my music, to make the arrangements, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, they always manage to get such a big set of their samples. In particular, the clever use of the samples in Daft Punk is just amazing. Yeah. Absolutely. Any particular singers that you'd like to work alongside? If you could have someone else sing one of your songs, who would that be?
Someone else sing my song?
Yeah.
Well, maybe Chris Cornell, definitely. I love his voice, and also uh, Rodrigo Amarante. I don't know if you know him.
No, I don't. But tell me a little. Tell me a little bit about.
Do you know the Netflix series Narcos?
Yes.
Okay, the music in Narcos, that the opening music, the opening song of the series is coming from him. Tuyo,
That's
the song Tuyo.
That's a very distinctive vocal.
Yeah, it's a great, very warm, very warm voice, and also he is able to write a song and speak more than 4 languages. So Portuguese, Spanish, of course English, maybe Italian. I don't remember. So if you listen something coming from him, I'm quite sure you will love it.
Yeah. Listen, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today about your music. If people want to download your music and buy your music, where can they do that?
On YouTube, on Jata Official, you can find all of my video clip. You can go to my Facebook page, Jata Project Official. You can also go to Twitter, on Instagram, or Spotify, iTunes, whatever. Just check it out. Jata Project Official.
Jata Project Official.
Yeah.
There you go. That's the thing to look after. It's one of those things these days. You have to get the information right. If you're searching amongst the myriad of music that's out there, it's so important to get that right. But I mean, the Jata bit's the important bit. It's such a catchy name. But Jata Music Official. So please, folks, if you're listening, do check out Jata's music afterwards. Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon to talk my music. I look forward to keeping in touch with you and hearing your music as it develops in the future. And pleasure to speak to you today. Bye for now.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure also for me. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.